Can you say hi? Hi. Say hi. Hey guys. Say hi. Say hi. I'm going to talk to you today about how to sell your art online, and specifically how to make your first sale of your landscape photography on Etsy in 7 days, even if you've never sold your art online before. So I coach hundreds of students around the world on how to sell their landscape photography, how to take their talent and monetize it and make serious money and profit by selling their amazing talent of landscape photography online. So with that said, let's get into it. So the first principle of selling your art online is you have to tell a really, really good story. Now, many people think, like, if I take a really good photograph and I put it out online, it's going to sell, it's going to make money, it's going to be profitable. And 99 out of 100 times, that's not true. Sometimes 1 in 100, you might luck out, someone might really, really like that picture. But most of the time, when you just post on social media a really nice picture, a really cool landscape photograph, whether it's, I don't know, New York City or Venice, Italy, or somewhere, some exotic beach in Australia, even if it's really, really, really high quality because you spent years learning how to do it. Even if it's really high quality, I found that just the picture is not enough. In fact, through 9 years of selling my own art face-to-face, one-on-one with tens of thousands of people, I have found that it's story that does 80% of the selling of a landscape photograph. Now, what do I mean by story? Story is the thing that emotionally captivates your audience and turns them from a merely interested looker into a motivated buyer who wants to buy now. You have this buying emotion. If you ever watched an infomercial or walked past a store with something on sale, or seen a car commercial, or been to a car dealership, or been in a jewelry store, and you're looking at something, someone's describing something to you, maybe you read a brochure, whatever happens, and you suddenly get that buying emotion of, oh, I need to buy that right now. And sometimes common sense goes out the window. It doesn't matter if you have the budget for it or not. You get that buying emotion, and you've got to have it. Now, in landscape photography, as well as almost anything that you're selling, what is it, that thing that turns on that buying emotion? It's story. 80% of the selling of a landscape photograph is done by telling a good story. So how do we tell this story? There's a million different ways of telling a story, but there is one formula that works better than anything I've ever come across, ever encountered, by a long shot. So there's this thing called the hero's journey. So the story behind the hero's journey is, in the 1950s, there was a writer, a scholar, a writer, a researcher called Joseph Campbell, and he wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Now, this book compared hundreds and hundreds of stories that had made it through the decades, the centuries, and the millennia. We're talking about, ancient mythology from the Vikings, from the Bible, from the Native Americans, from sub-Saharan Africa, from, Aboriginal Australia. All these different stories. He found that the stories that had made it, that had lasted the test of time and got told generation after generation after generation, all followed the same script or the same formula. And this is called the hero's journey. He discovered, whether it was Charles Dickens or Shakespeare or Chaucer or oral legend given by the Aztecs or the Inca or the Native Americans or the Vikings, the Celts, the Phoenicians, the Babylonians, the Romans, the Greeks. The Greek mythology followed the same story structure, one after another, with Native Americans from Alaska. And he goes, this is wild. And he wrote a book about it called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And what he basically discovered is that the hero with a thousand faces, or the hero's journey, this formula is kind of embedded into humanity. And when we hear a story that follows that formula, we're almost immediately hooked, and we care a lot more about the person telling that story. We're focused, and very often, when you do it right, it turns on that buying emotion. I discovered this about three years ago. I was always good at storytelling when I was telling about my pictures, selling my landscape photography online. I'd always be good at telling stories when I was in a good mood, when the stars were aligned, when the person was friendly and willing to listen. But when I learned about the hero's journey and that there was an exact formula that I could mechanically follow to tell a really good, captivating story, my sales 20x'd. So from 2013 to 2018, I probably sold maybe $35,000 of my own landscape photography. In 2019, after having discovered this, I did $160,000 in sales. In 2020, I did $305,000 in sales of my landscape photography. And last year, in 2021, I broke $700,000 all told. And the bedrock of this was the hero's journey. So what is the hero's journey? Very quickly, I'll lay it out for you. You have to introduce the hero. Step one. This is the hero. This is the surroundings of the hero. This is his circumstances. By the way, George Lucas, the writer of Star Wars, discovered Joseph Campbell and learned directly from him. And he became, a disciple of Joseph Campbell. When he wrote Star Wars, it became the biggest selling movie of all time, the best selling movie of all time. And the entirety of Star Wars, both the first movie, the second one, the entire original trilogy, was all based on the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, King Arthur, and the Knights of the Round Table. All the medieval legends that you may have heard of in storybooks as a kid, they all follow the hero's journey. Avatar, the Avengers, Marvel, all these very different kinds of stories all follow the same formula. So what is this formula? Step one is introduce the hero. Step two is introduce the goals or the purposes or the drive. What does the character want? What is his motivation? Step three is what are the barriers? What are the things stopping him? What are the antagonists? So in Star Wars, this would be Darth Vader. In Lord of the Rings, this would be, Mount Doom and Saruman with the giant evil eye and his orc armies. In Harry Potter, it starts off as his aunt and uncle, Priscilla Dursley and Uncle Vernon. But then it becomes Voldemort and Professor Quirrell. So what are the antagonists? Who's the villain? The next step is what are the unique qualities that the hero has that sets him apart from the normal person? Is he especially strong? Is he good with a sword? Is he good with a horse? Is he good with is he kind? Is he patient? Is he caring? Is he does he stop to help strangers when others don't? What is the unique quality about this person, the hero, that sets them apart? Next, you have embarking on the journey. How did they go from their peaceful home, safe home, onto a journey of peril, of chaos? What did they have to go through in this journey? And then there's something called Darkest Before the Dawn. Darkest Before the Dawn is where everything gets horrible, and in a romantic comedy, this would be like when the girl runs out into the rain crying and the guy's behind her, but she doesn't want to hear from him, but she actually loves him, and she drives away crying, and the relationship looks doomed and everything's sad. In Star Wars, this is where Obi-Wan Kenobi dies, is killed by Darth Vader, and Luke Skywalker is like, no, and he thinks everything's over. In Lord of the Rings, this is when Gandalf dies, falls off the bridge, and he thinks he's dead. There's example after example after example of this, but there's always a Darkest Before the Dawn where it looks like the antagonist or the villain of the story has overcome the hero, and the hero is, feels hopeless. And then right after Darkest Before the Dawn, there's the resurgence. There's the last gasp effort where the hero, does whatever it takes to overcome the villain using his unique quality from step three. And he uses his passion, he uses his strength, he uses his skill, he uses something that makes him unique to overcome the villain, even though it looked impossible. So this last burst of glory, and he manages to overcome evil, and in the end, triumphs. And now at the end of the triumph, there's two parts of this. There's the internal transformation, where he feels like, I've come of age, or I've become the Jedi that, like my father before me, or I've become a wizard like in Harry Potter. Or in Lord of the Rings, it's Frodo who's like, I've done my uncle Bilbo Baggins proud. And so it's an internal transformation. You regain your own self-respect, you get pride, you've grown up. And then there's external transformation or accomplishment. And that's where, you get the applause, the accolades, like in Star Wars where Luke blows up the Death Star. There's a whole ceremony, there's the medals around his neck, and everyone's clapping, and Princess Leia gives him a kiss on the cheek. In Lord of the Rings, this is where Frodo's celebrated. He comes back, and he's like a hero of the Shire. There's a million examples of this. So there's the internal transformation and the external transformation. Right. So what does that have to do with telling landscape photography stories? We don't have fire-breathing dragons or evil space wizards in landscape photography. But believe it or not, in a couple sentences per step, so a total of 1,000, 2,000 characters, half a page, we can take any landscape photograph that is well done, and we can create a hero's journey for this. Now, I teach my students this all the time, how to do this. I've created software to help you do this. But if you can tell a really good hero's journey story, it'll do 80% of the selling. It'll transform the people who are like, wow, this is really good. You should sell this. I might want one day. You tell them a really good hero's journey story, and suddenly they're like, oh my God, I have to have that. How much is it? And boom, you're into the sale. So the number one tip I can give in selling your own art is use the hero's journey and pay attention to it. Use the hero's journey, because at the end of the day, it is 80% of what will sell landscape photography online and even offline. If you're at an art show and you just tell a great hero's journey story all day, you'll make 20 times more sales than if you just stood there and showed your pictures, were silent, and asked for money. So there is my tip for the day. If you would like to check out more and learn more about this, I actually have a free class online. It's just over an hour long, and actually you get, if you stay to the end of the presentation, you actually get a free book. It's called How to Make Your First Landscape Photography Sale on Etsy in 7 days. It's 52 pages long. I just finished it, and we'll send that to you for free by email, just for signing up and watching the special web class. So it's all free. Check it out. I think you'll really like it. If you've ever wanted to sell your landscape photography more online or even get started, I've helped hundreds of students just like you go from having never sold to selling 10, 20, 30, 50, 80, and sometimes more landscape photographs online and offline. But this is mostly focused online because online is amazing. All right, so click below. You'll find a link for this special opportunity to watch this web class, and you'll get the free book as well if you stay to the end of the web class. All right, thank you so much.